Hi again. This video is going to be about mean, median, mode, and range, and it is for week 1, days 3, 4, and 5. All right, so I wrote down some examples for this one because I thought that would just be a little bit easier, and the screen will move less. So let's do this. Oh, that's for later. Okay. So mean, median, mode, and range. So the first part of that is mean. So basically those are just 4 different words that are talking about what we call measures of center. So basically just trying to find the center of things, but there's different ways to do that. So the first one is mean. So mean equals the average number. So basically if you've ever thought about like averaging, like test scores, or if you've ever thought about like the average of something, that's what this is calculating. So there's 2 steps for this. What you do is that you add all the numbers up, you add them all up, and then you divide by the number of numbers. I used that and I was like, oh no, they're gonna think it's a hashtag, but divide by the number of numbers. So what do we mean? If we have these numbers, 10, 8, 12, and 14, step 1 is just to add them all up, okay? So however way you want to do that, some people like to write them all out and add them up, and then some people do it one step at a time, and that's what I do. So 10 plus 8 gives us 18, plus 12 is 30, plus 14 is 44. So the step 1 is complete. I added all of those numbers, okay? All of these from up here, 10, 8, 12, 14, 10, 8, 12, 14, okay? So just adding up the numbers is the first step. That's it. Now step 2, divide by the amount of numbers. So if we're looking back up here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers, okay? So we had our sum of 44. We're going to divide that by 4 because there's 4 numbers. So 4 divided by 44, that one kind of turned out, quote unquote, oh my gosh, that was so cringy. Nice, right? So our mean, our average, is going to be 11, okay? So step 1, add them all up. Step 2, divide by the amount of numbers that there are, okay? So if we go to your paper, so for Mario's thing, to find the average, you would add 81 plus 95 plus 88 plus 85 plus 81, and then divide by 5 because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. Okay, so that's for the first one for mean. All right, median, there's like a little thing. It's like, hey, diddle diddle, the median is the middle. Okay, so the median is just that number that's going to be in the middle, but the most important part of this is step 1. List the numbers in order. So if you don't put them in order, your middle is not going to actually be your middle and your problem won't be right, okay? So step 1, super important. Just take the time to put the numbers in order, okay? And then step 2 is the easy part. Just find the one that's in the middle. So if we have 55, 52, 48, 72, 63, those are all just random numbers. My step 1 is I'm going to put them in order. So I did 48, 52, 55, 63, 72. So I guess the important thing there is put it in order from least to greatest. Okay, I don't know if I mentioned that. So once I have them in order, I'll find that the middle is 55. Now, if there were an even number here, you would just take those 2 and divide by 2. And I'll give you an example for that. I wasn't thinking about that, but I'll give you an example here in a sec. Okay, so the median for this one, the number that is in the middle, is 55. So let's say we had a set of numbers, even if it was just like 2 numbers, and they said, okay, okay, let's say it's like 14 and 15, and you're supposed to find the median of that, okay? So what number would be in between 14 and 15? 14.5, good. So I was just imagining that you guys were saying that because you knew what was the middle of those 2. If you had 2 numbers like this, 14 and 16, the middle of those 2 numbers would be 15, okay? So you can do that, or if you add these two, so 14 plus 16 is 30, and then divide by 2, you'll get 15. Okay, so that's another way to do it. Just if you have an even number and you have 2 middle numbers, that's what you'll do there. Okay. All right, now the mode. The mode is the one that occurs the most often, okay? So whichever number there is the most of in a set is the mode. So some helpful tips. You don't necessarily have to put the numbers in order, but it is super helpful because then it just kind of jumps off the page. And again, you're asking yourself, which one is there the most of? So here's this long set of data. So you could go through and like count all those numbers. Or what I do, so we have like, you know, I know that 1 comes first, 1 will be the least. So when I put the 1 down, I cross it out, okay? And then I write the other one, cross that out, and so on and so forth, so that you know that you've wrote all these numbers from up here down here, okay? So at the end, all the numbers would be crossed out so that you had them. So if I'm looking at here, here's my numbers in order. The one that I had the most of, that occurs the most often, not the biggest, just the one that occurs the most is 1, because you can see that there's 4 times that 1 occurs, okay? And no other numbers occur that much. So 1 occurs the most, so it is the mode. All right, the last one is the range. So the range is the difference. Difference means to subtract. The difference between the greatest number and the least number. So steps for this one. Step 1, put it in order. Put the numbers in order, okay? And then step 2, subtract the biggest number from the smallest, okay? So once you put them in order, it'll be really obvious about which one's the biggest, which one's the smallest. So here's my set of data. It says define the range. 24, 18, 15, 16, 17, 15, 14, 19, okay? So step 1, I put them in order, okay? And I even marked on here, okay? 24 is my biggest number and 14 is my smallest number. So then step 2, subtract the biggest number from the smallest. So I'm going to do 24 minus 14 to get 10. Okay? So if you guys have any questions about that, just let me know. This was in your foldable, all this info, but we had never done that together. So sometimes it's hard to just look at something if you don't have actual examples and someone walking you through it. So I wanted to show you that. And so mean, median, mode, range. I want you to like think of those words to this, because this is what it always reminds me of. Just do this in your head, you know, like play those words with these first few things. Yeah, doesn't that just those 4 words, like you just got to sing them while that's into the tune of that. If I didn't do something cringy, it wouldn't be me, right? Okay. Love you. If you have any questions, comment on Google Classroom or on YouTube.